What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Jackal Gold Games. And in this video, I'm going to be doing a video game review for the video game Condemned Criminal Origins. So I recently beat this. I did a video about what I've been playing on this game. Took me about almost 3 days to beat it. So thanks to Larry the Batman fan for sending this game. Once again, thanks to him. Subscribe to his channel. He's the reason I have this game. So I completed this game just now. I'm going to do a review and give my opinion on it. So this is a 2005 survival horror game, cop type game, and it was an Xbox 360 exclusive. And I gotta say, overall, I did enjoy this game. I did have fun with it. So basically, the overall plot of the game is you play as this cop named Thomas who is framed for the murder of these two cops he's with at the beginning, and there's this guy he's chasing named Serial Killer X. He has a little interaction with him at the beginning, and through the game, you're trying to find him, but you're also dealing with some other killers that is being hunted by this guy. So he's a serial killer hunting other serial killers. You have a partner named Rosa, who you work with, and she helps with some of your investigation parts because there's some parts in the game where you can investigate stuff like a police officer, detective. So that's the premise of it. That's like the overall plot. You play as Thomas. He's a cop. That's the main character. You have other characters in the story. You have this guy named, I think his name is Van something. He appears here and there in the game. He has some history with what's going on. He knows the main character. He also knows the other character, the villain, the guy you're chasing, Serial Killer X. There's also Rosa. In terms of the gameplay, it's basically first person melee combat's the main focus. You can pick up fire axes and desk drawers, paper cutters, lead pipes, guns you can also use as well. So it's a mixture of melee weapons and guns. You have shotguns, you have double barrel shotguns, you have handguns, you have a machine gun. So yeah, it's mostly melee focused because when you use the guns, you can only use the bullets that are in the gun. You can't get any ammo for it, but you can use the guns as melee weapons. And then there's health items you can pick up. There's also collectibles in this game, like metal parts you can pick up and birds you can pick up for achievement points, stuff like that. And there's certain TVs you can turn on to get achievements that have an Xbox 360 next to them, which I thought was pretty cool. I think because it was a Xbox 360 exclusive, at least the first one. The second one wasn't. So yeah, gameplay. That's the gameplay of Condemned Criminal Origins. Now, what I thought of this game. Let's get started. So, I'm going to start with the gameplay. I thought the gameplay of this game was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was fun to play. I liked a lot of the settings and areas you went to. I remember one of them being like a it was like an abandoned mall with mannequins you fight. I think that was pretty cool. I like the house you go to at the end. I think the building at the beginning is pretty cool. You deal with a sewer area at one point, subway station, and then some other areas. I know at the end of the game you were going through like farm and barn house areas. Some of it's like in the city, and then I think another area in the game is It's a library. Yeah, it's a library. That's a pretty cool area. So a lot of pretty cool areas, pretty cool atmosphere in this game. So I like the atmosphere and a lot of the settings you go to. I would say my favorite areas were the the mall with the mannequins. That was probably the best area. I thought I liked that one the most. The game didn't scare me that much, besides maybe just one area. The house in this game, near the end you go to, the basement did creep me out because enemies just keep respawning in there and you're trying to figure out a puzzle down there. That was probably the creepiest area, and the house itself could be creepy at times because enemies keep coming and you're trying to do other stuff and they're all over the place. So those parts could be scary, but I wasn't super scared from this game. I didn't really get that scared besides maybe those few parts where I was on edge. But it was fun to play. Gameplay wise, a good survival horror game. I like the mixture of melee weapons you use, whether it be pipes or fire axes or, you know, using a clothes rack or a mannequin arm or a sledgehammer. Various melee weapons were fun to use. You also have a taser in the game that gets upgraded as well later on that you can use to zap enemies and take the weapon from them. I liked that. That was pretty cool to use a taser because tasers, from my knowledge, aren't really super common in games. I feel like so. I mean, Dead Rising had a taser, but it wasn't like this one. It was kind of crappy, to be honest. So I like the taser in this one. You can use to stun enemies and stuff like that. And I enjoy the taser gameplay, the melee weapons. You also have these moves you can do. Like if you attack an enemy and bring him down, he'll be laying on the ground. And you have these four things you could do on the D-pad, which that's pretty cool. But the only problem is you can only do that in front of the enemy. So sometimes I was trying to do it on him and I wasn't in front of the enemy. So, and then the guns you use are pretty cool, like the 45 cal pistol, the shotgun, the double barrel shotgun, the submachine gun. Those are pretty good guns to use. Cool, you can use them for melee. Of course, there's health items you pick up, which I mentioned earlier. And then you have collectibles, which I will go back and play this on the hard difficulty and knock all the collectibles, get all the achievements, that kind of thing. But I want to get through the second one first. So, gameplay's pretty good. The enemies you fight are pretty cool. They're like basically the enemies are like killers and just like drug addicts out of their mind. But I don't know what's also driving them, and then also what's driving the story. Like that's what I'll talk about next, the story, because it's gonna be me starting to get into some critiques for this game. Because while I did enjoy this game, the story for this game didn't really make any sense to me. I didn't really know what was going on in the story, like all the way. Like you go through the story as Thomas character, you're trying to figure out, like you're trying to basically clear your name because you were framed. I get that. But what I don't get about the story is, what are these hallucinations the main character's having? What is that about? And, you know, we don't get to know a whole lot about that old guy he knows. And then like, yeah, like what are the hallucinations? What's going on there? Like near the end of the game, you have to go after this enemy because he's behind all this and he's behind, the serial killer X acting this way. He's behind all this stuff. But it's like, what is that enemy? You fight him and that's really it. The story, you don't really get an explanation at all of who that enemy was, what's going on here, where are these hallucinations from. There was a mention that Thomas was like a guinea pig test subject for the bureau and the government because he works for the bureau, but they didn't really go much more in depth besides. It's like, why is he a test subject? And just I feel like the story in this game, what I didn't like about it is I didn't really know what was going on all the way. I was just lost. It's like, okay, what's really going on in terms of the evil side of it, the hallucinations, the the way some of the enemies act, and they mention these little notes like these birds are dying from brain hemorrhage, and there's something causing these people to become crazy and kill people. There's little mentions of that in the notes before each chapter you play, but they don't really go much more in depth besides that. So I feel like the story was a little bit too cryptic and a little bit too sort of like it just feels like one of those stories that you'd have to study and put together on your own, basically. That's what it felt like. I don't know. The story for this game, wish it was explained better. 'Cause I didn't know what the hell was going on 100% the way. It was just like I feel like they could have did more with the story. And then another issue I have with this game, talk about next, is the characters. The characters in this game, I think, could be a lot better. The main character you play as, he's there. He's just there. He's a serviceable protagonist for your horror game, but he's not really that awesome or interesting of a character. He just doesn't really stand out that much. Like when I look at horror games or look at video games in the horror genre, he's just not one of those characters I'm going to remember. He doesn't have that presence like a Leon S. Kennedy does, or a Chris Redfield, or a Frank West, or a Chuck Green. He just doesn't really stand out all that much. He's serviceable, but he's not that interesting as a character. And he didn't feel like a strong main character that you would remember. He doesn't seem like an iconic type character. Like I don't know. I think the main character was lacking in this game, in my opinion. Same with some of the side characters, like Rosa. She was there. She was just the female cop there to help you out with your investigations, and she was your partner. But I don't know, she really wasn't all that interesting as a character. I would say the best character probably be the old guy. I mean, he was the most interesting if I had to pick. The serial killer X guy was okay, but you didn't see him a whole lot in the game. So, in terms of critiques for this game, I would say my biggest issues with Condemned Criminal Origins is while it's a fun game to play and it has good atmosphere, the biggest problems with this game is the story is, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And on top of that, the characters are kind of bland a little bit. A lot of the characters in the game are a little bland. It's just like, I feel like the issue, like I said, the issues of this game, the story in this game, I feel like doesn't have enough in it to stand out. It's not the most interesting story of all time. There's not enough in the story for it to stand out. And it's not the most interesting story of all time. And the characters in this, especially the main character and Rosa, they just come off as bland. They don't have enough to make them stand out to really have any presence. So it's like when they made this game, they nailed it in terms of atmosphere, nailed it in terms of gameplay, which is good because that's some of the most important parts, especially for a horror type game. But the areas they lacked in was the story and characters. That's what I think was lacking in terms of being good. I mean, the story wasn't terrible. I'm not saying the characters were so bad at the point where I couldn't stand playing as a main character, but it's just they lacked distinctiveness. They lacked depth. Like the story. I wanted to know more what was going on, and I wanted a more interesting main character. So the music in the game was pretty good, though. When I heard it in the menu, it was pretty good. Another area I thought was a standout in this game that I liked was like a school area you go to, and I thought the one enemy you fought, it was like this big fat ass cafeteria lady with a meat cleaver. I thought she was a cool boss. I liked her. I liked the area you go through to fight her. The enemies you fight there is pretty cool. I think a lot of the enemies you fight are cool. The drug addicts, they're going crazy, and the killers. You fight with them. Their AI is pretty good. They can be challenging because in the gameplay you got to block with your melee weapon and you got to attack them. And like I said, you can stun them with a taser and take their weapon. And so there's a good variety of enemies. Some of them are like short, regular people. Some of them are bigger people, which take a lot more damage. And then there's like these enemies that can crawl on the ground. They're a little bit more quick. They could be tough to deal with at times, especially if they are moving around the ground. And you're trying to shoot them with a gun. And then yeah, the investigation things were pretty cool. I liked that aspect of doing certain investigations. I think it made sense and it fit the game with you being a cop. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I could say about this game. Yeah, like I said, you got forensic technology, furious hand-to-hand combat, unpredictable enemies with complex AI, and for 2005 game though, it's also a psychological thriller, first-person survival horror game. For 2005 game, I would say it's pretty good. Now, you can sprint in the game, which thankfully they let you change the button because I honestly hate it when games have a running sprint option and the only button you can use is clicking the analog stick. I just think that's very uncomfortable. I hate that. So I'm glad I was able to change that in this game because I don't like running with the analog stick. It just feels uncomfortable. And yeah, so for 2005 game it was good. It's a pretty cool exclusive that Xbox had in 360. So yeah, I would say I overall enjoyed it. It was a good survival horror game and it was fun to play, but it's held back by having a story that isn't explained well enough. And some characters, especially the main character, that's bland and doesn't really stand out all that much. Hopefully, the sequel, which I have right here, Condemned to Bloodshot. So yeah, hopefully this game is better than the first one in terms of story and characters. This game came out in what year did this come out in? I'm trying to see. 2008. So about 3 to 4 years after the first one. I'm hoping what I'm hoping for when I do play this next. I'm hoping it addresses my critiques of the first Condemned. I hope the story in this one's more interesting and it makes more sense. And I also hope the main character you play as in this game is more interesting and cooler because those were my two biggest problems with the first one. So I'm looking forward to playing this and seeing how this is. I'll probably do a what I've been playing episode on this and a review for this. But yeah, I'm trying to see if there's anything else I can say about it. I mean, Sega published it, so that's pretty cool. Sega's a legend in the game world. Used to make consoles and stuff. I would say, if you're a fan of survival horror games, if you like those kind of games, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, stuff like that, it's definitely worth a play. I think if you like those kind of games, you'll get something out of this. It's just don't really walk away, unfortunately, expecting a outstanding story, one that makes sense, and expecting a main character that's gonna be iconic and stand the test of time with all the other main characters. Um, the voice acting in the game was pretty good. I thought the voice actors and voice actresses did their jobs well in here in terms of that. There's also like certain doors and things you got to break down with sledgehammers and fire axes to open certain things. You get certain secrets, like pick up a gun from a locker or stuff like that. You can only carry one weapon at once, and that's how it usually goes. But yeah, that's what I thought of Condemned Criminal Origins overall. That's my opinion on this game. So yeah, if you played this game, let me know what you think of it. And that's it for my review. Peace out.